But before we start with lesson 2, I want to give a quick review about lesson 1. As you can see on this slide, in lesson number 1, we give the general introduction about the red print. This introduction is based on the observation what we did during the period we were in China and we are still in China. And this philosophy is based on what we saw in the task force, where a lot of people who are listening now were also part of it. In general, we are talking about in football the 11 against 11 because that's the game what we know most. But what do we see in the 11 against 11? That a lot of Chinese young boys and girls are missing the fundamental principles, the first principles of football. And the most important sentence in the whole red print is, the player is the norm. We as coaches can only enjoy football, can only enjoy winning when we have the right players with the right education. And we need to help this player to make the right environment for them. That's why, as first topic, we started with the player education. We will always use this slide to show where we are. In the first lesson, it was mostly about introduction. That has been done. That is green. Now, we already started last lesson with the player education module. So it's in orange. It means we are busy with it. So each time we finish the module, it will be in green. Meanwhile, we even have more modules than you see here. We have not been sleeping during this COVID-19 period. We have been working very hard to bring 30 years of experience in football together in a digital presentation. And Roy is the digital brain behind. As I told you last time, he also made a total course for scouting. Just to remind you, the red print is based on 5 phases. Today, we will talk in detail about phase number 1 and phase number 2. We will go on a discovery trip through football. Not only a discovery trip of football, but also a discovery trip about the human being, the player, because the player is the norm. And all of you has been starting playing football around 4 or 5 years old, and you enjoyed playing football. But in this period, we have to learn step by step how to play football, and we have to start our technical possibilities. The main part today is the technical development of the child from 4 to 6, 7 years old. But if you talk about children, you have to know how they behave. Because when young Chinese children are missing this education, you will see it later on. And then we will have the same problems in 10 years. So in this module, we will speak a lot about the 2 against 2, the 3 against 3, the 1 against 1, but we will focus more on the left side, talent and education. And why do we emphasize on technique? Because I saw that the people who are listening, some of them have been professional players, professional coaches, and so on. And as a professional player, you know that your technique has to be independent about what you see and what you feel during the game. If all the time you have to think what you're doing in modern football, you are always too late. I keep on saying it's about cumulative learning. And each topic or each item we will talk about today, phase number 1 and phase number 2, we will divide in 6 different steps. If you want to know how football has to be played, you have to know your player. So we were looking to 5 different topics: social, emotional, cognitive, communication, and physical. And that we will repeat for each age and for each phase. And then, when we know this, we can talk about football principles. And these football principles, we build step by step. The first principles we will bring now. And later on, we will talk about general principles, sub-principles, and so on, and so on, and so on. For each phase, we will give coaching tips for you. What did we do the last 2-3 months? We took a lot of information in different countries, higher-ranked countries in football. So this is not only based in tips from Belgium, but also from Germany, Holland, France, Spain, and so on and so on. But we will always looking, when we are looking to these tips, to the mirror of Chinese culture. Because when it's not adapted to the Chinese culture, we can forget it. And as I told you before, when you want to have an independent technique, you need to train to repeat a lot. And when you want to perform in a game, you need to train and to repeat a lot. But if you play a game, you need to have principles, and these principles we will build up step by step until we have all the principles what we designed. In each game, you need to have rules, you need to have organization, you need to have formats, you need to have team management, and at the end, I will always compare with futsal. I repeat, for those who were not there in the first lesson, the green slides are the questions where you have to answer. This is just to repeat which questions we've been asking and what you have to send to the CFA. And later on, we will also give tasks and we will show it when we are back in China on the field. And we can use this as feedback to make our lessons better and better. So, if you see this slide, it means we will always show where we are. On the left side, you see phase 1 and phase 2 in yellow. These are the two phases what we will focus on today. We call this the discovery period in China, the Chinese football discovery. Players are discovering the real football, the football of joy, of being together, and the most important word, to have fun together. Don't destroy these players by taking away the fun. As I told you before, we took a lot of information, even with coaches. They were busy for about maybe 20 years with this age group. And you have to know that beside me, there is Roy. And Roy, he also has been coach for this age group. So he didn't do only analysis for the first teams and for the national team in Belgium, but he was also a coach from this age group. So I give now the word to Roy to explain some parts of phase number 1 and phase number 2.
谢谢 Chris. Watch one channel, how? I hope. We're gonna focus now on the age group Chris explained. So phase 1 until phase 2 means from 4 until 6 years. At this time, children will have their first contact with football in general. So as you can see here, and we're gonna take out some graphs to explain and to support what we try to prove here in those phases. If you take, for example, the first row, the social skills in the middle, and you focus from age 4 until 6 where we are, then you can see that children are very responsive to the social skill, which what means is they address to their peers, to the children around of them in the same age group. If we go to the second row and we go to this one, habitual responses, and we look to the age 4 until 4 of 6, then we see that repetition in this development phase and actually in all of football is very important to learn them things. it will take some time for them to get acquainted, to think, okay, this is normal on a football pitch. So this is important as a coach to try to repeat the techniques, repeat the positioning on the pitch as much as possible in different situations to help them develop. If we then go to the last row and we go to emotional control, then I have an example of when I was a coach for boys from 5 to 6 years old. I was doing an exercise with 8 players, and they needed to do a simple turn of the ball. So they dribble the ball and they need to turn with the right foot to another direction. At some point, you will have children that are better developed motorical way, better developed emotional way than others. At that moment, I had a little boy who didn't succeed to do the exercise as good as possible. So he failed a lot of times in a short time frame. So looking back to emotional control, what was his reaction on the failure? He started to cry and took himself out of the group and was sitting with his back to the group on the side of the pitch. So then as a coach, you need to react and interact with the player and try to let the players, the other 8 players, try to enjoy themselves as much as possible without you being there. So what did I do? I explained to the 8 group of players another exercise, the turning with outside of the foot. So they were busy, they could explore, they could entertain themselves. And then I went to the little boy who was sitting outside of the group. I squatted down on his high side so we would be in the same level of altitude. And I convinced him to rejoin the group, said I would help him, I would go with him step by step, I would show him, take him back to all the steps we saw already in the training and give him a little bit individual training.
And now I will make a link to professional players. You know that after a game, you always have 1 or 2 players who didn't play a really good game. So you, as a professional coach, you have to deal with it the day after. And then you have 2 possibilities. You don't speak about it or you speak about it. The players, normally they know that they have been playing a bad game. But when you have been winning, it's easy to talk about that in group. But when you lost, you have to speak with them separately, never in a group. And maybe you have to listen if you have problems at home, if there were some problems with players, because at that moment, you will learn a lot. What I want to show you is what you learn then. When you're 4, 5, 6 years old, they will still know it later on when you do the same, even with professional players. So if you don't know this in the talent phase, if the players don't know this, you will have problems in the performance phase. So don't think you're talking here about 4 to 6 years old players. We cannot use them. We cannot use it later on. No, 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 no. If you don't know the basic, if you don't know what you're telling now, you will have the problems later on. So you need to know your players. This is the lesson. You need to know your players. You need to have a link with your players. And to know that, you need to know the social background. So Roy will explain now the social background about these young players. But always think related to the players what you have. And you will recognize a lot of things that started over there.
And to complete my example, I took the player again, I stimulated him positively, and he became a part of the group again. And actually, at the end of the training, he mastered the technique. So he was happy. And then you give some positive stimuluses to his parents, and he feels okay again.
The same with the pro player. You encourage him, you give him the feedback, you let him talk, and he will feel again good in the next training. And maybe the next game, he will be one of the best, and everybody start to see that this is the way we have to work with players. So now Roy will give an overview about the social behavior of a young child, but don't forget, make the link with a grown-up player.
I will only take out the most important ones. Everybody gets the slides and can read them. So I'll just take out the important ones who we will be focusing on. If you look to the child and the developing, we think, and we addressed it already, fun and playing in the exercises is very, very important. They are ready to ask questions about you, about the training as well. They ask, coach, why are we doing this? Next to that, they are very egocentric. Like we said last time, it's me and the ball. So as a coach, it's the moment to get them acquainted with the ball as a good friend, for example, and to develop their technique. Because here you can focus on all the techniques like dribbling, keeping the ball close to the foot, and all those things. And maybe one of the most important things in the slide is this one. This is actually a coaching tip that we wanted to see you, to let you see here. I will give you another short example. For example, the children will copy a lot of things the coach will do, and it works both ways. On the one hand side, you as the coach are an example for the little children. If you hit the crossbar from 20 yards away, all the players or the little children will say, wow, he can do that already. So they will look up to you. On the other hand side, you will try to repeat as much content you saw in different forms so that they are acquainted with the techniques you as a coach want to learn them.
I will make again the link. Think yourself as a professional coach. You also need to be the example for the players. You also need to be the father for the players. If you don't show the right examples, players, even professional players, will say, yeah, we have to do this, but he doesn't have to do this. So being a father means you have to show your respect, you have to show who you are, and the players automatically, they will show respect for you as a coach and for sure for your knowledge. But you know, even in professional football, there is a lot of emotion. Also with these children, there is a lot of emotion.
I think we addressed a lot of things already, but I'm going to take the restless and the persistentness out of it. The restless is an example of what I said before, that they are very short-tempered, that they can be very angry, very happy in a short period. But also the restlessness is a link to the physical capacities of the child, but that Chris will explain later on in the PowerPoint. The persistentness is an example of always wanting to win. If they play 1v1, they want to score as much, they want to win as much. And this stays the same, I think, in the whole career of a player. Even if they are adults, they want to win. And that's, for I think, a key to become a top player.
But you have to make a difference. What is the difference? What is the difference? When you work with young players, winning is a part of the education, but it's not the aim of the education. The education is education. We want to make them better. When you're working with grown-up players, they need to win. Win is a part of the high performance level. And this is the biggest difference. If they don't learn how to win, they will never win. And here in these first two phases, we learn them how to play football, and automatically they will learn how to win. And then we go to the psychomotorical behavior. And this we can link directly to training. I take out some examples. A triangle. They can recognize a triangle. They can even draw a triangle. And triangle is the combination in football from the beginning to the end. You will see later on. They can recognize colors. I always say to professional players, if you play to the same color as you have, we have the ball. Because in the task force, all the players who were there, all the coaches who were there said, we need to make creative, offensive football in China, the triangle, and to play to the right color, it means ball possession is the base of that. What is important on that age, but also later on? This is the eye, the coordination between the eye and the hand. You throw a ball, you see it, and you have to take it. But also the eye-foot coordination. If you juggle with the ball, you can say you take the ball with the left foot, it bounces once, you take it with the right foot. So there needs to be a coordination between the eye and the foot. It means you can start throwing, catching, kicking with different sizes of the ball. You can use a tennis ball, you can use a bigger ball, you can use a smaller ball, you can use everything, but you have to inspire them. I give you a good tip. Use music, use rhythm. It's very important from the beginning. Let's say when you juggle with the ball left, you let it bounce, you juggle with the ball right, you start to clap with the hands, and you follow this rhythm. If you start bringing in rhythm into football, you will see it will go much faster later on. So you see, they can copy a triangle, and you can start to use it in your trainings with 3 against 3, because there you use the triangle. What do you know about communication? You know, my grandchild is now 3 years old. Yesterday he was here. He can already count to 10. They can start to talk to you with more than 5 words. So for you, it's important to communicate with them on the same way. And this is a super important slide, for sure, for the culture in China. You need to learn them to ask why, to give them the possibility to ask the right question. You have to encourage them to ask questions to you. They don't have to be afraid from you as a coach. Even when they are older, they can't be afraid from you as a coach. Also, they ask why. And you have to encourage them to ask why. Because why is the most important question in life and in football. But as you all know, football is a relation between the brain and the body. Now we are going to talk about the body. And look to all the items, to all the topics, what we have shown here. I will repeat. Coordination, balance, space and time, foot, running, hopping. Tell me now, when you're a professional player, you also need to have coordination, balance, awareness, space and timing, and so on and so on. So you see, don't think this is only for this age. This is what we have to repeat for each phase. And then I take the next 4 principles: flexibility, stamina, concentration, and strength. If you can prove me that you don't need these 4 principles or these 4 components in your physical behavior as a player, if you can show me that you don't need this, we stop directly with each lesson, because this you need in your whole career. I will make again a link to professional football or to football for players from 13 to 17 years old. Now about concentration. I go back 2 years ago, we were in the World Cup, and each time that we give a theoretical session, it was not longer than 8 to 10 minutes, because we know that players can be very focused during 8 minutes. What do we see with these young children? They can only focus during maybe 1 minute. What do we see with these young children with flexibility? They are very flexible. But then you see a grown-up player, and sometimes they are not flexible because we didn't repeat it enough. That's why we are giving these lessons, that everything is based on the premier base. That means everything, physical, technical, mental, have to work together, and we have to learn them to use it. If we give them too much sugar at that age, they will be used, or they will be used to eat the same sugar when they are grown up. And then you have a problem with the players because everybody knows that sugar is not good in our nutrition. And now everything what we has been said, we put it in one list of coaching tips. I take out a few of it. Taking the child or teaching the child the rules of sport because they will need it later on. The most important word in all the lessons, encourage your players to play together. And so we will help to develop social skills. Playing with creativity, very, very important. Let them play. Let them just find their own creativity. Okay, I think we have been talking a lot. And now we would like to show you some training examples. Training examples on different ways. Training examples from a lot of countries, just to show that football is universal. Chinese children are not different than children in Germany or whatever. But the education in football and the education in general makes the difference. We will show you now some examples of a nice environment where players can learn and be creative. Now we will enjoy together some footage and please put it in your brains what you see. Take it as an example. Take it as an example for the football of the future. And look to the technique. This is the most crucial part at that age. What do you see over here? The same as you are doing as a grown-up player, to work bilateral, left and right, and to be creative. Start with a simple exercise, and now you will see they will work together. The coach is explaining that. You see the children, left, in front, back, right, and he is explaining that the exercises, what they learned before, in the build-up of the training, they can do it together. Look, this is the social behavior also. This is the way we are building up the training with grown-up players. Everybody has a ball. Nobody's standing still at the moment. The coach is explaining the player who maybe didn't do it on a good way, but he encouraged him. And you see, it's going better. The coach is not shouting against them. No, he's just giving a direction. What we see here is just an example how you can work on a creative way with all these children. Chinese, German, whatever. Let the children play, but teach them the right way. Look to this child. Look to his talent. Are we going to destroy this talent by shouting? We encourage them. To our faces, you will see that we play 2 against 2. This is an example of 2 against 2 with 4 goals. And please have a look to the behavior of the children. Look to them. They have the ball. They only look to the ball. They don't look around them. Look, he's going alone. He scored. Have a look to the next step. Look, this little boy have the ball. Beside him, there's his player, but he don't give. He just shoot because they don't see it. But they are scoring goals. Look how many goals you already saw. They have fun. Up, they score again. So here, you learn them to kick on a natural way. He lose the ball. Oh, it was almost goal. So you see, this girl, she's giving the right explanation to the players. Don't shout to them, encourage them, let them feel the ball, let them dribble, let them shoot, let them do what they want and be creative. Please have a look to the next exercise. It is a fantastic exercise. Roy will explain the exercise and afterwards I will make a link to the grown-up football.
As you can read in the explanation, it's called the crocodile game. Here the emphasis will be on the dribble technique of the players and they cannot be caught by the player in the middle of the crocodile. If they successfully did the action, they can put a cone on their bigger cone and when they have 3, they have completed the exercise.
So on a creative way, you educate them to dribble, but you also educate them to win because they want to have as much cones as possible. Here you see the animation and have a look now. You will see it in live. The crocodile, up, he made a goal. Aha! He can put a cone on it, as Roy explained. You have to look around. And meanwhile, the other ones are there. So this is a fantastic exercise, as you see, for girls and boys. And they're laughing. They have fun. And this one has made a goal. He say, I'm the winner. But they are the winner on a natural way. So have a look around. They have to dribble again. Okay, they go back to the cone. They can put it on. Everybody's finished and can lift the ball up. Now I will make the link to the professional football. And now we go to the next level. This is in Porto with really good players. Please have a look. Okay. What do you see over here? You see that step by step, if you see the exercises become more and more difficult, but players are enjoying it. And you see that they work left and right. They work with the rhythm and they work with creativity. But now we will show you two examples of multi-move, because it's not only football. In multi-move, you will use a lot of your possibilities as a human being, not only in football, but from your body and your brain. It's all about what we learned. This is an example of a team in Belgium, one of the best teams in educating players. This is not Lukaku, but Lukaku was also a player there. But as you can see here, it's the total coordination and the total use of coordination, rhythm, music, body, agility, everything is inside. And again, it's combined with a game. And again, it's combined with creativity. And again, it's combined with strength of the body without using any weights. And again, it's combined with balance. And tell me, all these exercises you can also use with grown-up players. But then you make more competition, you make it more difficult, they have to work harder. But again, they have to use their body, they have to use their mind. And as you could see, they had a lot of fun. Another example is the coordination between eye and hands, and agility and turning and observing. Look to the exercise. Everything is combined. Concentration, agility, turning right and left, having the overview, being fast. Everything is already combined in this simple exercise. It seemed to be a simple exercise, but take care. You have to do it tomorrow yourself, and you will see it is not easy. This was the go-between of the last part from today. We are going to talk about the game, because at the end, it's all about the game. I was maybe too fast, so I will end up a little bit slower. And then we come to the game. On the left side, you see the essentials, what has been said by FIFA, who did approval of our red print. On the right side, in red, you see the link between the FIFA principles and the CFA red print principles. We're going to talk about the right side. What do you see? The young Chinese child needs to have the technical skills when he starts moving, not only when he is on the place, no, when he starts moving. We need to teach them the 1 against 1, the 2 against 2, the 3 against 3. We need to challenge them. Coordination between head, eyes, coordination between head and eyes and feet. We need to learn them to score, because what do we see in the CSL? Most of the strikers are foreign strikers. That we have to change. And this starts over here. You saw in the small movies, you saw that they were scoring a lot. You saw in the small movies that they could make a lot of goals. So we have to encourage our Chinese boys and girls to score. This was one of the biggest principles what has been mentioned in the task force. The task force, it was not us, it was you. What is the most important? It's in red. It's the technical aspect and the individual ball control in the 1-against-1. How are we going to organize these games?
As you can see, we have all the rules regarding the games from 1v1 to 2v2. I'm not going to explain them all. I think you have them all here, but important to know is that all those rules are instigated to let them play as much as possible. We as a coach need to offer the children, the players, as much development chances as possible in every game and every training. Also, on the right-hand side of the slide, you can see how many small pitches for 1v1, 2v2, 3v3 you can fit on a half pitch of normal size. This can be maybe an idea or an example of for food festivals where you organize as much small games as possible on a half day to let the players enjoy themselves and to discover football. This way of looking to a pitch can be an added value in a city where you don't have a lot of space. And this can also be achieved indoors in futsal. And we're gonna wrap up with the importance of futsal in the development of a young player and in the development of an adolescent player.
On the last slides, I'm gonna explain in 2 minutes the importance of futsal. I hope you still remember the 3 statements what we made for Chinese football. Statement number 1, every time a Chinese boy or girl is touching a ball is a win-win situation. Statement number 2, to do that, we need the right exercises and the right repetitions. Statement number 3, to do that, we need good coaches, good educators, good people as you now who are listening. And I would add statement number 4, we have to follow a road, but that's what we are doing now. And if you go to Spain, and Spain is a fantastic country for football, you will see that all the young children are playing futsal. Because there you are aware of space and timing. And at a certain moment, when you become older and older, you need to take a decision. Around the age of 14, you need to take the decision to go left or to go right. On the left side, you can go for football. On the right side, you can search for futsal, but you're busy with the ball, you're busy with football in general. And to do that, you can organize, as Roy's been saying, food festival. You can use the parents, you can educate the parents, you can be together as one big football family. And we end up with our green slide. The first 2 questions, they have been asked in lesson number 1. As you can see here in yellow, the red question is the question for the next lesson. The question is, you received a lot of information in this lesson about phase number 1 and phase number 2. But how would you compare this information with the current situation in Chinese football? Are we following this philosophy in reality? Do we, as coaches, give all our players the information that we receive now? Do we behave as coaches related to what the child at that age is? That's the question you should ask yourself. And then the last part, if it is not like that, what would you change yourself? Give some suggestions that can help the development of Chinese football. At the end of this lesson, I would like to thank everybody for joining us. I would like to thank my friend Touch and Go for the translation. We will go step by step to the real stuff, 5 against 5, 8 against 8, 11 against 11. And hope to see you again on Sunday.